G'day guys and welcome to Retrospectreviews. I'm Vince and today I thought we would talk about some of the issues I come across when game collecting. These are the issues when you're a game collector or a collector in general that you may face. So let's jump into it and check it out. One of the biggest pitfalls with game collecting that you come across, and that is picking up duplicates. Yes, I don't know how many times I've come home with the same game. I used to have an app that I had on my phone that I could check before I purchased something if I had a feeling that I might already have it or wasn't sure. But yeah, I had to change apps because it just wouldn't work on my new phone. So I'm trying a new app, but it's taking me some time to put my collection into it so I can make sure I don't get mixed up. So I highly recommend, if you're having this problem too, is to get yourself one of those apps that you can look up on the go, because I used to have a database on my computer, but yeah, when your memory, when you got so many games and your memory's not that crash hot, you're better off having a reference on your phone if you're able to do that.
Duplicated my web power.
Another issue that comes up with game collecting, and that is reproduction games. Yes, this one I actually purposely brought because I did a video. If you want to check that out, I'll leave a link somewhere. I wanted to see how good these reproductions were. You can actually see that this is not an original. But I do think anyone who's a novice in these sort of things could easily still be tricked. You usually could tell because the cover is printed pretty poorly. The game cartridge, the sticker doesn't actually sit quite right or starting to peel. And a lot of the time they use, it's just a clip-in cartridge. Originals usually have a security bit or a Phillips head screwdriver, and inside you can usually tell if they let you open them up. You can tell if it hasn't got a chip on it and it's only got one of those chips that have a black glob on it. But there's plenty of videos out there if you want to know more about fake or replica cartridges. But it is a problem that faces many of collectors. Yeah, it's very hard to come across one of these and thinking you're finding the original, only to be disappointed when it turns out to be a reproduction.
It's a fake.
Another issue that I find with game collecting is missing bits from the game, especially big box games. These are one of the things that I really do collect. I love big box games. I love the graphics and that, and going through everything that is inside the box. This one I actually knew that one of the discs was missing, but it is heartbreaking when you get home. You've spent, especially if you paid some big money. Some of these big box games are going for a fair bit, even with a lot of the contents missing. So yeah, it is a bit heartbreaking when that happens. So that's something to keep an eye on if you're out and about collecting for big box games. Try to have a look what's inside. Another issue that does come up, I've had happen a couple of times, and that is games going missing. Now this can happen due to two reasons. One, you lent it out to somebody and they've forgotten who you lent it out to, and they've never returned it, and you find out years later, hang on, where's that game? I'm sure I had that game. And the second one is the sad one, is when somebody comes into where you keep your collection and they actually pinch the game or the manual or something to make the game incomplete now, or take the whole lot. I've only had this happen to me once many years ago. I keep a tight eye on who comes and goes in my game room these days, but it is very heartbreaking, and you want to trust the people around you. You want to trust, you're excited to show off your collection and talk to them about, oh, this was my favourite game and was this yours, or so forth, and to find out later that that person you invited into your space where you have your collection actually has turned around and stolen a game off. I've heard a lot of A lot of big game collectors have had this happen to them at one stage. So it's very disheartening when somebody does that to you.
I know who you are. I was watching you. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna call the police?
Another issue that I come across constantly as a game collector is Mismatch Games in cases. Take for instance Acrobat and Acrobat 2. Now I swear I thought I had Acrobat. I've got the case and I've got Acrobat 2 here. When I was cataloguing my games the other day, I came across this issue. I opened up Acrobat 1 only to find it had Acrobat 2 in it. And I thought to myself, oh, I've silly me, I've put the wrong cartridge in the wrong case. So I've grabbed Acrobat 2, opened it up only to find it has Acrobat 2 in it as well. And I'm thinking, what's going on here? I did think at one stage, has somebody come into my game room and pinched Acrobat? I swear I had Acrobat, but in looking back now, I've had really no one come into my game room who would have even went for Acrobat, let alone having Acrobat 2 to swap it out. So the most logical reason what has happened here is when I brought my second-hand Mega Drive, the first one, it came with the Acrobat games, and I just assumed that I had 1 and 2, never really looked at them properly. So yeah, I think that's what's happened. When I've picked up the bundles, somehow I've ended up with 2 copies of Acrobat 2 instead of Acrobat 1 and 2. It does happen, so it does pay to check, especially when you're buying a bundle, to check what cartridges and manuals are in the case.
Hold up. We should count it first.
Well, the biggest hurdle when it comes to game collecting is, of course, space. Now, over the years of doing this YouTube channel, I have moved several times, and each time I've moved, my game room has gained more space. But in saying that, I've pretty much reached my limit of the game space here in this room where I am now, especially as I like to keep my retro computers set up, and I've got all my retro consoles on display. The biggest hurdle of that is especially if you are after a complete collection. Now, what makes my game collection harder to store is the big box games, but I've seen people run out of space collecting just the Mega Drive. So yeah, one of the biggest issues with game collecting is space.
Space. The final frontier.
Another issue I find with game collecting is the dusting. Yes, if you really care about your games, you have to clean constantly. I usually try to dust everything down at least once every couple of months. Some people do it fortnightly. It all depends on how much time you got, I guess. But I do try to keep things in as good a condition as possible. Which brings me on to another issue with especially big box collecting or anything that has the cardboard boxes. Wear and tear. It's really hard to protect your game boxes, especially if you enjoy taking them off the shelf and looking at the boxes and the graphics and so forth. Over time, they do start to develop little nicks and knacks. You can get those plastic protectors. I have a lot of my NES and Super NES games in them, in my Atari games. But I have heard that there is issues with those as well, especially if you live in a climate where it's moist and wet and then it's dry. You can develop it kind of sweats inside the plastics, so it can be a issue, especially if you can't keep the room you got your collection in neutral temperature. A bit like keeping wine, you want your wine kept at a constant temperature all the time. Well guys, that's some of the issues I come across when I'm game collecting. In the comments, let me know if these are some of the issues you face as well, or is there some that I haven't covered in this video. Let me know down below in the comments. And while you're down there, don't forget to like and share this video. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because I upload a new video every week. Well, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Bye. I have now resorted to categorizing. So I'm games in, categorizing them. Why can't I say that word?